Okay. Mitzvah Reish Ches, HaMitzvah Ashmona Umosayim, V'hi shetzivonu Letzadek HaPeles, V'hamoznayim Mishkolos, V'hamidos. Okay, so here, just from plain translation, just before we get involved in what's going on, there's in the translation of Ibn Tibbon, there's like an extra word that goes beyond the Arabic. See, in both Ibn Eov, there are three things mentioned, and also Kapach, Hamishkoilis, Vamaznaim, Vamidis. Both of them are basically the same, except in Ibn Eov, it's Avnei Hamishkoilis, Vamaznaim, Vamidis. Kapach, that's Hamishkoilis, Maimiyas. Somehow he threw in Pelis over here, which is part of the Muznaim. How it got here is not clear, but okay, say that. But we're talking about various measuring items, whether it's a measure of weight or volume. Okay, say it. Okay, so let's just get started here to try to understand what the issues are. Just let's see what's in the Torah and what we do know, what we don't know, and then we'll go further. Okay. In the Torah, when you get to the issue, we deal with the issue of mishkolos and midas, whatever. You basically have two lavim and one aseh. And let's discuss what the two lavim are. And the beginning of this discussion, at least the what we're going to focus on, at least at the beginning, is the relationship between the aseh and the two lavim. There's no relationship, but what exactly is happening? Okay, so the aseh is this aseh which we're talking about. The two lavim. The first lav is the Rambam has a minyan HaMitzvos in Lois Aseh Reish Ayin Aleph. Lois Asu over b'mishpat, b'mida b'mishkol u'b'msur. Over b'mishpat, which is midah, mishkol, and mesur. It's a pasuk in Vayikra Yutes Lamed Hey. It means it's to measure or weigh whatever trying to discern with midas which are lo nechaines or improper midas, and through this medida, either the moiche or the koina will not receive what they should receive. That is lois aseh reish ayin aleph. Lois aseh reish ayin beis lo yiyeh locho b'kischa, shouldn't be in your pocket. I guess in your possession or something like that. Even vo'even gedolu k'tan. And this is in Dvorim Chafei Yud Gimel. And what it really is an Isa to have in one's possession of Shehiyah, of Midas and Mishkolos lo nechaines. The first one is to measure with them, and this one is to just to have them. And this is Gzeira Deraisa, Kilu Shema Yishtamish, that as a midah or mishkal, since the lo nochain, it's a Gzeira Deraisa. It's a lav. And you violate this law, even though b'mitzius you don't use them as a measure. It's to have something which could be used as a measure. There's an aseh. the question is, say, has something to do with love, nothing to do with love, and this much we'll try to explore. And there are a few words over here which we'll have to understand. L'tzadek, shetzivonu l'tzadek, and ulahaflig b'tzimtzum. It's very interesting. We'll see as we go on. Let's just read. Wom Yisale, Moznei Tzedek, Avnei Tzedek, Efa Tzedek, Vihin Tzedek. So Tzedek is telling you something from the Moznaim. It's like an adjective, or it's a possessive of Moznaim of Tzedek, Avonim of Tzedek, Ephas, I assume that's like a noun. Moznei Tzedek, Moznaim of Tzedek, Avonim, Avnei Tzedek, Avonim of Tzedek, Epha of Tzedek, Vihin Tzedek, Yelochem. So Tzedek is a noun, Shem Toya. But when you come to the Sefer, Moznei Tzedek, Tzadek Esa Moznayim. So it comes out that this noun is interpreted the Sefer as a verb. Tzadek HaMoznayim, and then it says Yofe. Tzedek becomes Ki'ilu Tzivui of the mitzvah, even though it's a noun. I guess maybe it's a Pirish Makubah, whatever it is, and that's Shetzivonu L'Tzadek. Okay, so Tzedek becomes the Tzivui, and Yofer becomes that this Tzedek, it should be Yofer. It should be exceptionally exact. Avnei Tzedek, Tzedek es HaMishkolos Yofer. Efa Tzedek, Tzedek es Efa Yofer. Vihin Tzedek, Tzadek es a hin yofer. So it requires you're trying to make an really exact yofer. So that's lahaflig b'tzimtzum, which is yofer. And then there's tzadek. So at least we have now some idea what's happening over here. It's amazing, amazing thing. So just let's get started and try to understand. The Rambam has two prakim in Hilchos Geneva. In one parak, which is parak Zayin, the Rambam discusses the two lavim. And in parak Ches, he discusses the Aseh. First glance, he seems to be trying to separate them, that the issues may not be the same. In Perek Zayin, he says that someone that weighs with midas loy nechonos, he's a ganav. That's what he says in Perek Zayin halacha beis. Af al pi shamoide o ashoikel chaser goinev. Even though he's a goinev, there are other issues involved in the love. But midas achseros or loy nechonos is a ganav. In Perek Ches, the very interesting thing, in Perek Ches, he talks all about this. He talks about the midah. He talks all through the Perek, and the word Geneva is not mentioned at all. So the question is maybe Perek Ches, which is the Aseh, is not an issue of Geneva at all. And that's what we're going to explore. Now, Perches is the Aseh. The Aseh of Avnei Tzedek, Hin Tzedek, what Eifa said, Yelochem. Okay? And there is a discussion like he has over here of diktuk b'midas. Bram Perches, Haloch Aleph, Mitzaseh, Litzadek Hamoznaim, V'amishkolos, V'amidos. Yofe, Yofe, Uledaktek, B'cheshboinon, B'shas asiyos. So they should be exact. And that's what the Rambam says, lahaflik b'tzimtzumam. B'tzimtzumam. And this issue of tzimtzum and exactitude, you basically find only in the discussion of the Aseh, and only in Periches, and only over here in the two Lavim, the issue of the Aseh is not mentioned at all. The issue of diktuk and simsum, the haflik with simsum, is only by the Aseh. And then you can begin to understand things and say to yourself that if it's apparently and clearly choser, that's the geneva. If it's not exact with the exactitude that human precision can imagine, so no, he's not mekayim a mitzvah of ltzadek, moznei tzedek, avnei tzedek, yelachem. However, there's no geneva, there's no love. Again, this discussion of Simsum, the Rambam mentions in Periches of Geneva, Halocha Zayin, the Perik of the Aseh, ein Toimnis Mishkolis Memelech, Kedei Shiyifchasu, V'lo Yatiach, B'midas, Halach, B'eshemoidei. You shouldn't do various things to change the midas. V'afilu hois amida ketana b'yosa. Shariatera hekpida ala midas b'chol shehu. Here we're talking about kol shehu. Shenem mesura v'hi mida ketana echol mishleisha u'shleishim beloy. The 33rd of a log. You know, what a revius halog is, which probably is about 77 grams. So, Beseda. And you find that the Eben Ozel, it takes this approach in the Rambam, that they say is lahaflik b'diktuk. The problem is that the Gemara on this basic issue of Taimni Mishkoles B'melech Achikul Yatiach B'midas Halach Be'eshemoidei, this whole thing, the Gemara quotes it as far as the Lav is concerned, not as far as the Aseh is concerned. It's an amazing thing. The Ram is the opposite of the Gemara. The Gemara Metzia, Samachala from the base, Omalei Rav Yema, Rav Ashi, Lav the Kos of Lachmona, B'mishkolos, Lomeli. Why did the Torah write a Lav of Mishkolos? Omalei L'Teimen Mashkaloi. Mishkaloisov b'melach. In fact, the Gemara Tami Mishkaloisov b'melach the Hainu Gezel Ma'alyu. It's the Chanemis a Gezel. Lao of Olov Mishas Asiyah. So first of all, the Gemara says that it's Gezel. And in the Brisa, the Hemshech, and the Gemara Bava Peites Mebeis, the Gemara says explicitly that it has to do with the lav. Torah Bonan, Leisasu Ova Mishpa, B'mida Mishkal Mesura, and the Gemara dashes all these things. Toimein Mishkolos, Matichim, Uchule. So the Gemara says just the opposite of the Ram. The Ram is going out of his way. There's a Perek Zayin and Perek Ches. And Perek Zayin is a Perek of Geneva and the Lavim. And Perek Ches in Indian, Lahaflik B'tzimsum B'diktuk. But the Gemara says that those things which the Ram quotes, Lahaflik B'tzimsum, Lo Yatiach, and Lo Toim L'Mamelech, the Gemara learns that it's Geneva and not Lahaflik, and the Gemara puts it in the Lav, not in the Aseh. Ram is against the Gemara. So the question why and how he does that is an issue. But the Ram seems to take the Sefer, the Teres Kohanim, and that is Kilu the last word, and not the Gemara Baba Basra Baba Metzia. In Sefer, in Parshas Kedoshim, Parsha Gimel, Tchilas Perek Ches Halacha Zayin, Moznei Tzedek, Tzadek es Moznaim Yofe, Avnei Tzedek, Tzadek es Mishkolos Yofe, Eifa Tzedek, Tzadek es Eifa Yofe, Behin Tzedek, Tzadek Behin Yofe. And the Rambam, that's the Teres Kohan, the Rambam is quoting over here in this mitzvah. And this, from that, the Rambam says the din of Diktat Yofe, and it's not a Geneva, and it's Lahaflik B'tzimsum, it's a whole different issue. It's an amazing thing. Like the Gemara is the opposite. Rambam takes the Teres Kohanim, both in Sefer HaMitzvos and in Mishnah Torah. So then it comes out that the issue of diktuk in Midas is an Aseh. And if it's clearly Choser, then it's Geneva and a Lav. And if it's diktuk, it's an Aseh. So that's you find the Eben Ozel in Ilchus Geneva and the Minchas Chinuch in Mitzvah Reish Nun Ches. And the Rambam is mefurish in Mishnah Torah that the law of Shihiyah of Lo Yeh Eifo Ve'eifo is a Gzeira D'Oraisa. Says in Perek Zayin Halacha Gimel, Kol mi shemashe beveisai oy bechanusai midach seira oso she'afa pi she'ein ze lokech u'moiche bo shema yovoy mi she'eno yodea shehi chasera v'yimdei bo. So the chayri is the gzeira to a efsharos of geneva. Next. The Rambam here, you see, in the Sifra, there's Moznei Tzedek, there's Moznaim, and there's Avnei Tzedek of Mishkolos, and Eifa Tzedek, there's an Eifa and there's a Hin. Moznaim, Mishkolos, Eifa, and Hin. So the Rambam explains all of them here except for Moznaim. Ukva Yadato, Shah Eifa, Midas Hayovesh, it's a dry measure. By Hin is the Hin of Shevan HaMishcha, whatever the Hin is a Midas Halach. Ve'ele Kulam in Yonim Echot. Ve'im nishtanu mini hashiurim kizeh hadovo sheyishko o yomud. There's lishko and medida. Okay, and muznaim. The issue of muznaim. The Rambam explains in Periches Halacha Tes to Yud Aleph and Yud Ches to Chav. Again, Periches Halacha Tes to Yud Aleph and Periches Halacha Yud Ches to Chav. Okay. Now, this, again, which he says, lahaflik b'tzimtzumam, that the Rambam has a little bit more in Mishnah Torah. He has like this, in Huchas Gneva, halacha Perek Ches, halacha Aleph and Beis, the Perek of the Aseh, Mitzvah Aseh l'tzadek moznayim mishkolos v'amidas yofer yofer, v'chein b'midas hakalka, tzorch l'daktek b'cheshbon meshichas hakalka. He's going further. It's not only the exactitude of the medidas, but the medida itself should be exact. So l'daktek b'cheshbon, and the geometry of how to do the cheshbon of area is also comes under this assay. So l'daktek b'cheshbon b'shichas hakalka al pio iklim hamizba'arin b'kisvei gimatrios is geometry, I assume. So the assay is not only mechayiv diktuk in the kli medida, but also diktuk in the etzem medida, and all the mathematical cheshbonos, geometrical cheshbonos, which are tied into to medida. And the Ram is mechadish something else, which goes into Haflik Simsuma, which he doesn't talk about here in Minyan HaMitzvos, but he talks about in Mishnah Torah, is to make sure the midas remain b'diukon. And then, therefore, it's also to make midas she tishtanu, that they'll change throughout as time passes. or to be geirem, to cause that the midas should not remain b'diuka. And that's the maltiach, and that's the time of the melech. Now, the Ram has a comment over here which needs some explanation. The Ram says, Kvar yodato shoefa midas halayovesh, vahin midas halach, ve'ele kulam inyonom echot. What do you mean ve'ele kulam inyonom echot? So let's just go slow. Once we know that the tzedek, even though a priori it looks like a noun, or to the Chachmei HaMisori, the Matiki Ashmur, the Kabbalah, that there is a tzivui, and tzedek is a tzivui, letzadek, 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 letzadek. So what do you have? You look at the over here, Moznei tzedek. Tzadek as a Moznai. Avnei tzedek, tzadek as a Mishkolis. Efa tzedek, tzadek as a Eif. The hin tzedek, tzadek as a hin. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 tzivuyim. So you have 4 tzivuyim on 4 different things. So you can imagine 4 separate mitzvahs. So the Rambam, since they call inyan echod, and minyan mitzvahs has to do with inyan atera. So even though it's 4 different tzivuyim and they're all inyan echod, so it's 1 mitzvah. And a nocharaye that it's inyan echod. V'elu amin in kulom where it's aloyma apeles ba'moznayim ba'vishu ayovesh v'shu alach yikumi. This is all called the same thing. It's a rayidoch as in echod. He's not telling you a vocabulary what they call now. It's because the rayidoch that's in echod. V'atzivui shenitztavinu lahaflik b'tzimtzum ashir hamuskam olav mikol min mehem yikol mitzvahs midas, and it's all 1 mitzvah. It's called midas and the mitzvah midas. It's a rayidoch that it's 1 mitzvah. This idea that it's all 1 inyan, you find a similar thing in the Ramban. The Chinuch quotes it in his explanation of the Ramban in Sefer Chinuch in Mitzvah Zayin. V'zeh she'amarti she'Ramban zichrono levocha yimne kol nifrotim b'shmom echod mitzvah b'fnei atzmo, dafka kishehem chalukim bi'inyon kamo shekosavnu. And he has a whole list of various things that are inyan echod. V'chein moznei tzedek, avnei tzedek, efa tzedek, v'hin tzedek, shakol tzavoos achas shel nishaki hamidas. It means it's all inyan echod. That's what he's talking about. Okay. Let's continue. Ukfa yadato shoeifo midas hayovesh Vayhin midas halach ve'ela kulam inyanam echad. So since it's one Indian, it's one mitzvah. Nishtanu mini ashiurim. Ki ze adov shishkol lo yimod omnom hu shir erech min marachim. So it has to be, it's a certain shir, and it has to maintain that shir. Ve'elu amin and kulam v'ataloy ma'apeles v'amoznayim v'shiurei hayov v'shiur alach, all the various midas and mididas, what I mentioned here in this mitzvah, yikul umidas, it's all one mitzvah. But tzivich is tabla haflim simsum ashir hamuskam olav mikol min mehem yikul mitzvahs midas. Now let's continue. That's all one mitzvah. V'loshet sifra al t'nai kach hotzeisi eschem meretz Mitzrayim. On Tanai, I took you out of Mitzrayim. Al Tanai, shetekabel aleichem mitzvahs midas. Shekol hamoide b'mitzvahs midas. Moide b'tzias Mitzrayim. V'chol hakeifa b'mitzvahs midas. Keifa b'tzias Mitzrayim. So the question is, what's pshat? So why is this mitzvah embedded or intertwined with Haidah Yitzias Mitzrayim? And why does it say long? Why does it say Shamoidim Midas? Why does it say Mekayim Mitzvahs Midas? So l'chera, what you have to do is put the Sifra and the Gemara Mitzvah together. And I'll tell you what I mean. If you look at the Gemara Mitzvah, Samachal Mabeis, Omar Robo, Lomeli the Kosev Achmona, B'chulei, Yitzias Yisrael Mishkolos. Why did the Torah talk about Yitzias Yisrael Mishkolos? Omar Kodesh Baruch Hu, Ani Hu Shivchanti b'Mitzrayim, Ben Tipa Shel B'chor, L'Tipa She'ena Shel B'chor. I differentiate between these two tipas. Ani Hu She'osa Lipora, Mimi, Umimi Shetoime Mishkolos B'Melech. So Ani Shevchanti, I'm going to be mafkin over here. So it means it's very difficult to be mafkin between midas mediocres and mediocres. However, Kodesh Baruch Hu shehivchin bein b'chor li'eno b'chor leposhut. He is mafkin bein midas mediocres and mediocres. And call me shemoy the mamin b'mitzvah shakodesh baruch Hu. He can differentiate bein midas mediocres and mediocres. Who's moide, who's mamin shakodesh baruch Hu tzir mitzrayim. Why? B'makas b'cheres b'avchona bein b'chol le'eno b'chol. So again, what do you have? You can ask a question. Why was this whole story of Moide, the Midas, Moide, and this and that? Why was only said that Aseh? It's not said by the two Lavim. So the answer is portion. Since this Aseh is an Aseh, lahafli b'tzimtzum tzadek, it's an union of hafchona. And you have a flog mediyuk. And that's the and with that he's moide in the hafchona between tipa of b'chor she'eno b'chor. He's also moide Kodesh Baruch Hu is mafchim between midas mediocres she'eno mediocres, which is the Aseh. Now, next, let's start. I don't think we'll finish, but we'll start at least. We'll see how much we'll get here. Next mitzvah. Mitzvah reish tes, ha-mitzvah ha-teisha v'mosai. Hu shetziva לכבד החכמים. ולוקו מפניהם, and to stand up to מכבד them, to stand up for them, ולגדל אותם, to put them on a pedestal, whatever. Let's just introduce the inyanim over here. And where do we learn this from? V'amo yis'aleh mipnei seva tokum v'odalta pnei zoken. Pnei seva posagim t'oshim mipnei seva tokum v'odalta pnei zoken. V'loshin sifra tokum v'odalta. Tokum, the two verbs, tokum v'adalta, kimo sheyesh bo hido, a standing up which honors. Now, when they say tokum v'adalta pnei zokein, a priori, there are two mitzvahs in this passage. One mitzvah when they say v'tokum, and the other mitzvah dalta pnei zokein. The interesting thing is that if you look in Tanakh, you do a search, and just try to understand what the word sefer means and what the word zokein means. You get the impression that both of these words, sefer and zokein, is referring to an elderly individual. Each zokein. Sefer, I give you my HaMitzvos, but if you look, the word sefer embraces tezvav, chaf hey ches, dvorim lamed beis, chaf hey, and shoftim, yud aleph, yud gimel, and yud tes gimel, Yishayahu, Memvav Hedalid, and Tehillim, Ayin Aleph Yud Ches, and Sadi Beis Tezvav. It's very clear that you're talking about an old elderly person, and also the word zokein in the Chumash and Tanakh in general. I'll just quote you because there's so many in Bereshis that it's very clear from all of them. Bereshis Yud Ches Yud Beis, Yud Tes Dalid, Yud Tes Lamed Aleph. Adoni zokein, Chav Dalet Aleph, Chav Dalet Beis, Chav Hey Ches, Chav Zayin Aleph, Lamed Hey Chav Tes, Mem Gimel Chav Zayin, Mem Dalet Chav, Mem Ches Yud. So it's just, just embrace and Sefer Bereshis by itself. So Alachas Kam V'Kama. But both of them mean an elderly individual. So that's Pshuto Shel Mikvah. However, the Matiki Eshmur Chazal in Sefer and this Sefer is also the more Kedushin Lamed Aleph from the base. They learn that Zokin is a Chacham. That's very clear. However, what Sefer is, whether Sefer is a Chacham or an Ish Zokein, is a Machokas Tanoim. And 3 Shitas in Tanoim. You have the Tanakamo, that Sefer and Zokein is Bozeh V'Limer Alzeh, that the mitzvah is to stand over, you have both of them together. Even though a Zokein is a Chacham, but a Sefer is an Ish Zokein. That's what comes out according to the Tanakama. And the mitzvah is only if you have both of them together. A Talmud Chacham who's an old man. That is the Tanakama. Isi ben Yehuda. These three shittas you'll find the Kedushin, Lamed Beis and Aleph. Isi ben Yehuda, the Isi ben Yehuda holds that Adam is a man is mitzuva lamoid b'fnei kol mishyesh b'seva v'afilu huzakein Russia v'am haaretz is mechayim b'seva no matter who or what he is. And that's mibnei seva taku, but there's also a mitzvah to stand up in Rizakum, that's a Talmud Chacham. So there's a Sefer, but called Sefer Shiur. According to the Tanakama, it's a Talmud Chacham is a Sefer, is an old man, and if both of them intersect, there's a mitzvah. According to Isi ben Yehuda, they're two separate things, they don't intersect at all. There's a mitzvah to stand with a Talmud Chacham, independent of age, is the mitzvah to stand before a Sefer, even though he's a Rosh Ha'amoritz. Then a third sheet. A third sheet is the Yeseg Lili. According to Rabbi Yosef Haglili, there's no mitzvah to stand. It's mostly the drasha is mostly the pshuta legamre. There's no mitzvah to stand before an ish zokein. It's only b'fnei chacham. And even if he's young, and a chacham is also. So according to the Tanakama, is Bozeh V'Limer Alzeh. The mitzvah is that only Talmud Chacham who is an elder statesman. According to Isi ben Yehuda, they're two separate things. There's a Talmud Chacham and the old man, even if he's a Rosh Ha'amoritz, whatever it is. And then there's a Yeseg Lili, that there's no such thing as an old man, even though that's Pshut Shel Mikra. And the mitzvah is to stand in front of a Talmud Chacham, no matter what age he is. Those are the three sheets. The Rambam here in Minyan HaMitzvos, he only mentions Chacham. He doesn't mention Sefer at all as a separate personality. He mentions the word in the mitzvah, Sefer Tokum, but he doesn't say that there's such a thing. The whole discussion is only about Chacham. So Pashas is the Rambam, and it's a Chacham. He doesn't say anything about his age and not age. Pashas the Rambam Sefer Mitzvahs of Yeseg Lili. However, in Mishnah Torah, and this is just a introductory remark, it's much more complicated than this. The Rambam in Hilchos Talmud Torah, Perek Vav Halacha Tes, says that you stand with Zokein Muflag Bezikna. So l'cheira, even though he's not a chacham, l'cheira it's Isa ben Yehuda. So the Ram doesn't be passing like Rabbi Yisrael Galili in Mishnah Torah. Okay. Now, so the pasuk is Mipnei Sefer Toku V'Odalta Pnei Zokim. V'Losh Sifra Tokum V'Odalta Kimo Sheyesh Bo Hidu. Now let's go back before we go forward. The question is, in the Nusach HaMitzvah, the Ram quotes it over here. In Ibn Tibin, it's V'loku mipneihem ulegadeloisa, which is very powerful. You don't know, are you supposed to do two things? What's the relation between the two? Kapach is helps you a lot. And he says, V'lan mod mipneihem k'dei lahadron. The purpose is lahadron, but what he's doing is lamud b'neihem. So what it means, according to Kapach, that the Ma'aseh Mitzvah is the kima, but the kiyum is the covered that you give to the Talmud Chacham. And since the Ma'aseh Mitzvah is the kima and the kiyum is the hidu and the covered, so what you're doing is putting the two things together. And it's a kima sheyesh bo hidu. So even though the Torah talks about kima, we'll find in many places that the Ram will say that the mitzvah is covered. The Rambam here in this mitzvah da she'im heyois mitzvah zo mechuyeves lanoshim kulom bichlal kloimo lechabed hachachomim. The mitzvah is lechabed chachomim. Chen minyan mitzvah kotzer. Here in Nasei Eshtes lechabed hachachomim shenever b'nei Sefer Tokum. In Protei mitzvahs Hilchos Talmud Torah L'chabed B'lamdeho B'yodeho L'chabed in Perek Zayin, Perek Vav Halacha Aleph in Hilchos Talmud Torah Kol Talmud Chacham Mitzvah Lahadroi V'af al pi she'enoi raboi Mitzvah Lahadroi, it means L'chabdoi She'nem b'nei Sefer Tokum Adat b'nei Zokim. Shuvas Rambam, Simen Kuf Yud, Avo liyoiso yodua b'yira shamayim u'v'chochma ein roi loimo olav dovo ara sheyishma dvorov yishoma dvoroi hoil v'atera hakidesha chivo lahader talmidei chachomim ולהכריע בכף זכוס, ולהעלים עין בשביל לא יסיים, ותו יסיים עם טוב. Okay, בסדר. But it means the mitzvah is l'chabed, that's the kiyum. And the ma'aseh mitzvah is the kiyum. Okay, next. It's interesting, or since it is the mitzvah, Maisa mitzvah is the Amida, and the Kiyum is covered. So the Rambam brings the inyonim of covered, which are not intertwined with Amida, in Hilchos Brachos, in Derech Eretz, meaning, look at the Rambam. The Rambam in Hilchos Brachos, Perek Zayin Halacha Aleph, Min Hogis Rabbis Nogu Chachmei Yisrael B'Seuda B'Chulan Derech Eretz Be'elu Hein Kishenichnosim L'Seuda Hagodol Shebakula Noitel Es Yodav Tchila. The din to Achabed the Godol. Ve'ach Kach Nichnosim V'Yoshvin B'Subin B'Godol Meise B'Roish U'Sheni Loi Lamato Hemenu Hoyu Shloisha Mitais Godol Meise B'Roish U'Sheni Lamaila Hemenu U'Shlishi Lamata Hemenu. And look at Halacha Yud Beis there, but it's all dini covered min hogais and derech eretz. But the mitzvah is a mitzvah mamid. This all be beautiful. There's one Rambam that that we need to focus on. It's going to need an explanation, because the Rambam in one place in Hilchos Talmud Torah and Perek Vav, he mentions a din covered. We don't know what happened and why. We're leaving the other din. The Rambam in Perek Vav of Hilchos Talmud Torah, Halacha Hey, Shloisha Shehoyu Holchim Baderech, Horav Be'emsa, Godol Mimin, the cotton mismola. Why were you machabed? The Godol is here, the Rav is here, this, that. That's the way you do it. So this needs some work. You have to understand, is there any covered? Why is the Rambam leave in a limited sense? What happened? The Rambam quotes a Teres Kohanim. Mimnei Sefer Tokum, Rosh Sifra, Tokum V'Adarta, Kimo Sheyesh Bo Hida. The Rambam is referring to a Sifra, which is not quoting the Lashon, he's paraphrasing it and interpreting it the way he interprets it. The Sifra is in Gedeshim, Parsha Gimel, Perek Zayin Halacha Yud Gimel, Yochol Yamoi Lifnei Lefono Meirochek Talmudim V'Adat Pnei Zoket. So it means that the kima is only a kima sheish bahida, and only within a certain radius is a kima shel. You stand up for someone, he's so far away, it's not a kima shel hidu. You find this in the Gemara Kedushin. Yochol lamed beis yochol yamoid miponov mimocham rochek talmud loim v'adalta lo yamalti kima el b'mocham sheish hidu. I see the Kedushin lamed gimel man aleph Tana Ezeo kimo sheish bo hidu haviyoyme ze dalra. So I just wanted to make a statement It's more saying what it's not what it is. The Torah has many mitzvahs of covered. There's a mitzvah lach lekavod lezera alein, mitzvah Aseh lamed beis, ulakdim l'chol davar shebekdusha shenever bekidashtei. The mitzvah lekabed החכמים is our mitzvah. Mibnei Sefer tokum. There's another mitzvah reish yud, with the mitzvah lekabed aveim, kabed es avicha ve'esimecha, and the definitions of each one are different. Each one has their own definition of what covet is. Similarly, there are various mitzvahs of yira, of meira, and they each have their own definition. A mitzvah say dalit liyira mimenu shenema of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a shemel kecha tira. Yiras hamikdash asay la chof aleph liyira mibayis zeh shenem mikdash tiro. Asay reishir aleph liyira me'av v'aim shenem ish imo v'ov tiro. But even though we're going to find the mitzvah Hashem, there's an inyan of meira by Rabbi, and we part of this mitzvah. The definition of meira by Rabbi and meira of Yiras Hashem and the meira of Yiras Rabbi and the meira of Yiras Hamikdash are very different. Each one has its own definition. Mitzvah Hashem, we'll pick up next week.